Well, George Smith Sr. started S&S really with his pal Stanley Stankos. George and Stanley were racing buddies, and they were making their own high-performance parts back in the late 40s and the 50s. And they were kicking everybody's ass because they were making stuff that worked. Back in those days, there was no, J&P catalog with all this cool stuff in it. No, there was nothing. There was, you had a Harley and that was pretty much it. But everybody kind of was getting tired of getting their ass kicked, so they wanted the stuff that these guys were making. So they said, let's start a company. Let's start S&S, Smith and Stankos. Stanley was only in the business for about a year, and he had another business that he wanted to spend time on, and he sold his interest to George, and George and Marge Smith basically became S&S again, Smith and Smith rather than Smith and Stankos. Marge never gets enough credit because George was an innovator, he was a doer, he was an ass kicker, but Marge was right there with him. People think, well, she just did the office work. Well, no, she was out there in the shop making parts. She knew this stuff. She could make parts, she could talk tech on the telephone. It was a pleasure to listen to this woman on the phone. I'll tell you what, you know how Harley guys are. They don't want to talk to a woman about a problem, She says, listen, Buster, what's your problem? And by the time she get done with these guys, it was, thank you, ma'am, you've solved my problem. And it was something. I learned a lot of stuff from her just listening to her. They would go through Wisconsin on their way up to northern Minnesota to go canoeing. And so they knew about VIOLA, and they knew this country. They loved this country. And what happened was he saw an ad in the paper that there was a farm available for sale in VIOLA. He said, well, I know that. So he bought it, quit his job, moved up here. They're going to raise cattle and make a few motorcycle parts.
S&S has always had racing in its DNA. We've been very successful at Bonneville, salt flat racing, drag racing, street racing, and we've made many hot rod performance parts. But as we look to take S&S into the next 60 years, we need to go with the changing times, and right now flat track racing is extremely popular and has the ability to grow, in my opinion, in the next 5 years. So S&S is now heavily involved, developing new products and becoming an industry leader in that sector. Most companies in our industry don't survive 50 years. I think it's less than 12%, and it's even less to make it to 60. So today is a celebration to be thankful for S&S achieving 60 years and to thank everyone that's involved in our organization.